We are going to finish chapter 4 today, and it's the Chinese New Year today. So Happy New Year to those who celebrate. If you don't celebrate, still Happy New Year. Announcements. We will have our class online next Monday because of snow. It's going to be pretty bad. So you just need to go to the Zoom link and attend class through Zoom that day. And we will not have quiz this weekend because you can spend more time to focus on your assignment 1 and your exam 1. You're welcome. Any questions on the assignment and exam? You good? Okay. And we will have 1 extra credit opportunity coming pretty soon, hopefully after the exam. And I'll let you know what that is. For your exam 1, there will be 40 multiple choice, so 40 points in total. They cover chapter 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and it's about 8 questions per chapter. So all the questions are based on either the textbook or their lectures, but they can come from both. What I want you to do is to focus on applying the concepts, but not the definition. You just need to know what they mean, but you don't need to memorize or worry about how to write them out. You just need to understand them. Okay. Also, please ask questions early. Don't wait until the last minute. For today's agenda, we will talk about the brain, so left and right hemisphere. We'll talk about the relationship to speech, and we'll briefly go over some neuroscience research methods, and then we're going to talk about what consciousness is. Okay, so the brain's hemisphere. How many of you heard of this or seen this picture? They said that the right side of your brain is responsible for creativity, right? The left side of your brain is responsible for logic. And depending on the person, you might be more right side brain dominated. That means that you're more creative. But if you're more left side dominated, it means you're more logical. So sometimes we say people with left hand, who are left-handed, they're more creative. Have you heard those before? Yeah. Yeah? Do you think that's true? Very good.
My brother, he's like an artist and stuff, and he's left-handed.
That's confirmation bias.
Well, it kind of also makes sense because like I'm like the complete opposite. I'm
Uh-huh.
right-handed. And
Yeah.
I'm not like creative at all.
Very good. So that's still confirmation bias. You'll find a lot of right-handed artists or left-handed scientists too. But you only focus on those who apply to your idea. That's called confirmation bias. Does that make sense? All right. So not really, and I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to give you some scientific proofs on that. So the brain's hemisphere, some functions, but not all, are lateralized. So lateralized means that the functions is under control of one side of the brain or the other. For example, our sensory and motor process, those are lateralized, such as left or right-handed. And we know that our right side of the brain controls the left side of the body, and the opposite is true. Yeah.
So these are examples that are like lateralized, right?
Yes. So our language is typically in our left hemisphere, while our nonverbal activity is typically in our right side of the brain, which is the right hemisphere. And again, there's individual differences. Nature and nurture can also play a role. in this. So we're not saying this applies to every single person, but we're saying this applies to vast majority of the people. Okay. All right. So for our left hemisphere, this is our language center. They receive information and control right side of the body. For our right hemisphere, that is responsible for nonverbal information, visual recognition, emotion, perception, etc. So they receive information and control the left side of the body. Yes?
Can you go back for like a second?
Do you have any questions regarding the concept, understanding? Yes. Carter?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Do we know why the left side controls the right side of the body?
Why is that?
Yes.
You should ask the creator. I don't know.
It's proven.
Huh?
Like it's proven that it
Yes.
will work.
Yes, it's proven. I think that's for, I want to say 99.9% of the people. We didn't test every single person on Earth, but the people we have tested, it's the case. Hmm?
How do you test it?
How do you test it?
Yeah.
Let's say if I cut off your left side of the brain and I want to see whether your right side is affected or your left side of the body is affected. Does that make sense? If you have damage on your right side of the brain and then you are paralyzed or you have functions impaired on your right side of the body, that kind of supports the idea left hemisphere controls right side of the body and right hemisphere control left side of the body. Good question though. All right.
Any other questions, which I'm not kind of confused by, maybe
Huh?
different things? But she said, is this the left side of the patient or the left side according to the people addressing the brain? I don't know why that's confusing to me, but.
So when we say left hemisphere or right hemisphere, we're saying the person's brain. So should be the patient in the question. Well, not necessarily patient, but every single person. Right? Okay. Good question. All right. Great. So aphasia, this is the loss of ability to understand or express speech caused by brain damage. So brain damage can caused by accident or seizure. Right. Or stroke. Okay, so Broca's area, that's in the left frontal lobe. And this is responsible for our speech production. Broca's aphasia, sometimes we call it the non-fluent aphasia. This is a aphasia with a hard time to speak. So a patient with this type of aphasia, they have a hard time to communicate with others. Yes?
Would it like stutters fall into place sometimes?
No.
No?
This is aphasia. Stutter is completely different. I'm going to show you what this means. So for Broca's aphasia patients, when they speak, it's non-grammatical. However, their understanding is good. So they understand your question. They understand what you're saying. They just cannot convey their own idea. Yes?
Can this, that's a speaking portion, but writing it, would they also have that grammatical issue?
I don't think so, but I'm going to show you a video. Maybe they will demonstrate. They can read other people's writing. I don't know if they can write it.
Okay.
Yep, that's a good question. That will require a little bit more research on my end. Okay, so This is an example of a patient with broca's aphasia.
Can you tell us your name?
Mike Caputo.
And Mike, when was your stroke?
I was 7 years ago,
Okay.
and
what did you used to do?
Worked Autodesk, seven sales, and worldwide, and very good. Yeah,
Okay. And who are you looking at over there when you turn your
that's
head?
my wife.
Okay. And why is she helping you to talk?
She's a speech.
So you have trouble with your speech.
Yeah.
And what's that called?
Aphasia.
All right. And so why don't you work now?
I do.
And what do you do now?
Voices of Hope aphasia.
And what is Voices of Hope?
Peterburg, and Dr. Hinckley, and myself, founder for me, and I members the members, probably 60 people.
So 60 people are part of Voices of Hope,
Yes.
which is an aphasia support group
Yes.
that you founded.
Yes.
Okay, I just looked it up. They have trouble with writing as well.
Okay.
So it kind of makes sense. The whole language area is affected. And this can be very frustrating, right? If you can put yourself in their shoes. It's like you understand what other people are saying and you know what you're trying to say, but you can't say it. It's very frustrating. Okay, so question. Do you think that people can get better with Broca's aphasia? Like their symptoms can improve or they stay the same?
I think you can get better.
You think they can?
Like this guy said 7 years ago, like he had his seizures 7 years ago, I think.
Mhm.
And he has someone helping him, like for having what it is and seeing how bad it is, he was still able to like sometimes make a good sentence or like say a properly grammatic sentence.
Okay, all right. What about other people? Yes, your name is?
Robert.
Robert?
Yes, sir. You can kind of tell towards the beginning, like him explaining his situation, he'd been asked that multiple times.
Mm-hmm.
So he could, at least from what I saw, he could say that fairly well.
Mm-hmm.
And then on questions that he hadn't answered before, he had a little bit more trouble.
Okay, very good, very good. So practice might help, right? Okay, very good, good observation. So yes, with practice, they can get better on certain symptoms. Also, I believe the neurogenesis, which is brain cells, they regenerate if they are not damaged beyond repair. To a certain extent, it will help with the symptoms. But how much does it help? We're not certain. Yep. And we mentioned this before, right? When we have brain damage, sometimes we can repair those damage to a certain point. Okay. All right, very good. Now I'm going to show you, this video is showing the progress of a patient with this Broca's aphasia.
Okay. So what's your name?
Scott. Oh, No. Sarah Scott.
That's right. And how old are you?
I can't.
Try.
I can't.
Oh. You're 19. 19.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what happened to you?
Stroke.
You had a stroke last year.
Yes.
And what happened? Can you remember what happened?
School and English class,
Okay.
and I book and I read it aloud, but I can't because stroke, and so I stand there, and also it's the same as the same of kind of thing as you know.
Pins and needles.
Yeah,
like pins
the
and
same, and also arm as for
leg.
leg. Yeah.
Hello, I'm Sarah. This is my anniversary video. I had my stroke 9 years ago today. So that's why we're doing it now.
Does it seem like 9 years ago?
It seems that is a long time, but I can't remember what I was like before my stroke. So I guess, well, it's right anyway. So
it's the new you, kind of.
The better me.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think she has a YouTube channel. If you can go to her channel, and she has all different kinds of practices, the therapies that she's receiving throughout the 9 years. It's pretty amazing if you're interested. And check that out. Okay, so next we have the Wernicke's area in the brain. That's in our left temporal lobe, which is here. They control our language comprehension. So it's different from the Broca's area. We call people with Wernicke's aphasia the fluent aphasia. So they can speak, they have the ability to speak, but they garble, and the sentence that they speak has no meaning. I'm going to show you what it means by that. So the reason that we think this is different from Broca's area is that patients with Wernicke's aphasia, they don't seem to understand they have this symptoms. They are not aware that they are not communicating with other people. So it's like less frustrating for the patient.
They don't know.
Yeah, because they don't know. But I think it's more frustrating for the people who are around them. They cannot communicate with them at all. Okay. So
Sorry, I'm guessing like writing is also. I'm sorry, just when you think of communication, you think like speak and writing.
Yeah, yeah.
So like, I'm guessing the writing portion is maybe the same way.
Yeah, that's for sure. They, I don't even look that up. If they can't even understand what other people are saying or understand the questions, there's just no way for them to give a proper feedback. Okay, so here is an example.
Hi, Byron. How are you?
I'm happy. Are you pretty? You look good.
What are you doing today?
We stayed with the water over here at the moment and talked with the people for them over there. They're diving for them at the moment. They'll save in the moment. He'll have water very soon for him. With luck for him.
So we're on a cruise and we're about to
We
get to
will
Juneau.
store it right here and they'll save their hands right there for them.
And what were we just doing with the iPad?
Right at the moment, they don't show a darn thing.
With the iPad that we were doing. Like here?
I'd like my change for me and change hands for me. It would happen. I would talk with Donna sometimes. We're out with them. Other people are working with them. I'm very happy with them.
Good.
This girl was very good and happy. And I play golf and hit other trees. We play out with the hands. We save a lot of hands on hold for us, other hands. I don't know what you get, but I talk with a lot of hand for him. Sometime. Am I talk of any more to saying?
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it, and I hope the world lasts for you.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure. Bye-bye.
Have a good day.
All right. Yes, Parker.
Okay, so, you said with the other one, like, that they can, like, think about what they're going to say, but they can't actually say it. Is this, like, how they think, too? You know what I mean?
Sure. So that's a trick question. You might want to put your mask up a little bit. Because there's no way for us to know exactly, right? How do we know what they're thinking if they can't even tell us?
That's true.
Right? That gets to a little philosophical. I don't know. It's too deep for me to answer that question, but it's a good question. What do you think?
I don't know, because he seems like super happy. So did the last dude, but you're saying like it has to be frustrating to like know what you want to say but not be able to say it.
Wait, are you talking about this patient or the patient before?
Well, like he looks happy. So
Yep.
what you were saying, like it would be frustrating if I was trying to say something and not like I couldn't get it out. But he just looks like happy about it. So I was just thinking maybe like in his head he thinks that he's making sense. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, so actually this is different from the Broca's aphasia, right? So for this type of aphasia, the patients themselves, they are not frustrated. They feel like they understand it. Because for the Wernicke's area, they control language comprehension. So when you're speaking to them, they think they understand it, but they actually don't. For the Broca's aphasia, the Broca's area is controlling speech production, but not comprehension. So they understand what you're saying, and you understand that they understand. They just cannot produce speech to give you feedback. Does that tell you the difference between the? Okay. Does that help a little bit? Okay. Cool.
Oh God, I completely forgot the question. Like, that's me.
Well, when it comes back, can tell me. All right, good question. Did you notice sometimes when he responds, it kind of makes sense. Like when the lady says goodbye, he knows to say have a good day, something. Why do you think that is?
Oh, that was. I was gonna ask, like, is it depending on the severity of it? Because it seems like he understood some parts, but once he understood that, he stuck, like, when it said, how are you? Or where are we at? He stuck to that all the way until, like, the iPad thing, until she, like, pointed it out, and he saw it, like, visually, and then he changed, like, oh, I would call, like, whoever, and then he also went back to the topic of, like, how happy, like, he feels when he's playing golf. Like, I feel like he'll understand parts, and then stick to that part until, like, he gets bored of talking or he thinks he's done talking.
Okay, so you said, could there be severity
Yeah.
to the symptom? Yes, there's definitely severity to this type of aphasia, but the reason that we think they can respond to certain questions is because a memory that we call kind of like muscle memory. Is that they really don't understand what you're saying, but they have speaking this so many times before they have the stroke. Like when I ask you, how are you? Most people like pretty automatically, I'm doing well, I'm fine. That's like the very automatic response, right? So what we think is that they lose the ability to understand speech, but they can still respond based on those like very automatic.
Yes, so like a computer, like how sometimes with like a computer, you can program with like keywords, it'll just automatically do something.
It's kind of like that,
Like
but
they heard like, how are you? And like they don't understand what that means, but the
Yes.
brain knows. Okay, how are you? Muscle memory, do this now.
kind of. I don't know. I wouldn't compare this type of symptoms to a computer.
Yeah.
But I guess that's kind of the same idea. Is that they kind of automatically respond to a certain word. Like, what are you doing? They have said this so many times. They know like what to respond, but without understanding what that means. Okay. It's a little abstract. I try my best to explain this to you, but if you have questions, feel free to keep asking. I think you go ahead. Warner? Water?
Yeah,
What-
that's me.
Okay, cool.
Do nonverbal cues like stored in the right or like recognized by the right hemisphere of the brain also help them like understand people's speech per se?
Yes, so like when she points at the iPad, he kind of knows, okay, now we focus on this thing. Does that help?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Yes.
Are there people with both faces?
I don't know. If they're, I actually don't know.
I mean, like they wouldn't be able to tell you obviously that they have this. but-
Yeah, because I'm thinking if they have both.
Diagnose it.
If you have both, they're like not fully, but like maybe they're like almost like vegetable, like that they can't understand, they can't commute, they're just like going through it.
I wouldn't say it's vegetative state.
Oh yeah, that's why like it's not like fully, but in the sense that they can't communicate or understand, so they just go through like life as just like going along with it. Because at one point, in one case, they don't understand they have it, but the other one, they do.
Okay, so in terms of your question, my assumption is that they will respond some nonsense, but not fluently, right? So the difference between the focus aphasia and Wernicke's aphasia is one can speak fluently, but doesn't make sense. The other one kind of makes sense, but not fluently. So if you combine the both, it could be, yes?
I found
Uh-huh.
something.
Oh, yeah. Go ahead and answer the question.
So it's called global aphasia. So when both sides of the brain are affected, they aren't able to understand spoken language and they really can't speak at all. So I guess you're just kind of there. You know?
They don't even respond?
Not really.
So you're pretty much right.
Yeah, it just makes sense. Like one part is like you can't comprehend, but then the other part is like you can't communicate. If you can't do both, then you kind of just have to. You're just going through it, like flying through life, like going through the just routine of like have to go to the bathroom, like body motions and like what's the word? Reactions and like muscle memory. That's what I'm looking.
Okay. Yeah, because that's interesting because for the Wernicke's aphasia, even though they don't understand the question, they're responding. So I don't know how when you combine them, they just don't respond at all. But that's interesting. Yeah, that's interesting. I might do more research on this a little bit later.
It's interesting.
Yeah, it's but at the same time, every time when I talk about this, I feel kind of sad. It's for both cases. It just, I don't know. I kind of feel depressed after talking about this. All right. Questions regarding the two types of aphasia? I'm going to show you a therapy section for the Wernicke's aphasia patient.
Wired bags.
Oh, are you
Yes,
talking
yes.
about
When we were kids, down near Bellins and Sullivan's, and we were Wellerhans, Jefferhans. We were kids.
Is it Whitewater?
No.
Not
no.
Six Flags.
Redford Hands is exactly right there. Really, friends?
Sandy Springs.
It's this kind of. It was a Marston's.
And it was a something with
Yes,
water. I don't know.
Yeah, but just
I didn't grow up that way.
You at U.S. Meads.
I went
and
with you.
When we were kids, we went all the way down to here.
Chattahoochee.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a long one, sir.
Because I'm just kind of confident. Yeah, that is where I used to count us. But you and me.
So it's a place you and Amy went.
I mean, literally, there's one.
What happened at that place? Give us some more clues.
What did we do there?
So you were kids, and what else?
What did we do there?
Went before the kids, probably without our little kids. So that's how many years we probably younger went on Plains of Lights. And the food is it's like a
kind of food.
Yes, a type of place.
So this is all about food.
This is all about food.
And look, if you went to zoo, was it called that? Cloth and Gibbets?
Bahamas.
Was
Atlantis.
it Leffenhelst?
So here's Atlantis right there.
Was it called something? Bellied.
Bahamas.
Yeah.
Right. Look right here. Atlantis. What are we trying to get to? Or is this?
It was a town. It was a place in some place, and we ate there.
Okay.
Okay.
And
back
it
when
was
we were
good?
theirs. And
It had a type. It was a certain type of food.
yes, it was a base of
Like
a
Caribbean?
school. Yes.
Like Caribbean food.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Let's see. Where are we?
So you want Amy to remember a place you guys went before you had your kids that had good Caribbean food?
Oh yeah.
This is
We
all
loved it.
for that.
Okay, there's.
Well, how about,
suspense.
I'll tell you what, how about,
Jim, listen.
Yes.
Jim.
how about we come back to it?
We'll come
Because
back to it.
sometimes when you leave stuff for a few minutes, it'll pop in there.
It's the Kai's
Type of a kind of food.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Because sometimes the more you try and get something, it just doesn't happen, and
we'll
you
just-
wait a few minutes
well,
because
I
that
think
happened
we
to you
will.
the other day with
Okay.
something too.
Yes.
You were trying to think of something.
And I'm
Concentrating a lot right
yeah,
now.
and I don't need the exact language.
Yeah.
I got it. Okay.
So that'll
Fine.
come. It'll come in there.
So actually, going back, where did you find the information that they? Okay, is it .com? Is it .com? Okay, so that's for for profit. Again, pay attention to where you get your sources from. Yep. So aphasia.org, I just looked it up. It's a National Aphasia Association, so non-profits organization website. They can respond with global aphasia, just with very little vocabularies. And they can improve after stroke if the stroke is not too severe, right? That makes a little bit more sense because I feel like even though they have damage in the language area, even though if it's the whole area, they still be able to respond in some kind of ways. So here they mentioned one type of ways to communicate with people with global aphasia is to notice their facial expression. Yep. Yep. All right. Yes.
Broken aphasia, you can like they can like practice and like get better at stuff.
Mhm.
So you would render it it's like it's more that it's not the person that has the issue gets better, or you understand their process.
The problem, it depends on how you see this. When I see this case, I don't think the patient even understands what other people are saying. So when they ask a question, they sometimes hesitate. It's like, no, yes, no, yes. So I don't think he even understand what's going on. So,
So it seems like yeah, so like based off of that, it seems like this type of aphasia is more the patient can't get better.
well, according to the aphasia organization, they can. I just don't know how they determine that. Yeah. You probably have to compare before and after.
Yeah.
Right now, we just have one face, so we can't really tell. But, yep. Now I'm going to show you an example, and you tell me what kind of aphasia it is.
Their foot, boom.
What's this?
The big end right there, end of the football.
End of the football?
Is it influence the football right here? Like cause that it comes in, see?
Yeah.
The end of it, see? Yeah. Oh, we have all of these, see?
I don't understand.
Well, it's pliable in the other, see? You don't understand it, but it plies in the long reed comes from there, and it comes source from the country out through, see? All the under it, see, it comes up, and finally come out here and goes out, see? You have it?
Sort of.
If it comes out here, see, it comes out here, and here, and it comes in, and it comes out, and bing. That's a good fly throw, see?
That's a good what?
That's a good flow is
Okay, what type of aphasia is this?
A.
You think it's Broca's?
Yeah.
Nicholas? You think it's
I think B.
B? Okay.
I think it's B.
B?
Yeah, B.
Okay. So why would you think it's A?
Because she was asking questions,
Uh-huh.
and he was able to understand the question. Because what we saw before with the Wernicks, they would ask questions and they would get parts of it, not everything. But in the other one, they understood everything and just had difficulty. They lost the words. Here, he's lost a word of whatever he's trying to say that comes out of his body.
Okay, so I don't think he understands the question. The response that he gives does not correspond to the question. Also, another thing to distinguish the two. Okay, so the answer is Wernicke's. Is one is called fluent aphasia, the other one is not.
Yeah.
Yep. So does that make sense?
I forgot about that part. Yeah.
Yep. All right. Very good. So the stuff that he said, a bunch of words, fluent sentences, doesn't make sense. We call it the word salad. All right. For left and right hemisphere, how much time do we have left? What time is it?
It's 2:15.
2:15. Okay, we have 10 minutes. So hemispheric differences should not be exaggerated. And I'm going to show you this girl with half of the brain. She still can function. It's not like she can't do one thing or the other. Okay.
I have half a brain. When people meet me, they have no idea. I only remember my very first seizure. I was at my daycare playing, and the next thing I knew, I was in an ambulance.
We
hightailed it to the hospital and just watched her. She had another seizure the next morning, but nothing that they did worked. She was constantly falling to the left, and it got so bad that one of us had to be on her left side all the time.
It was to the point where I was having seizures every 3 minutes, and that wasn't cool.
The doctor explained that the only way they could treat it was to take out the half of the brain that was affected.
In very, very early childhood, the brain is thought to be in one of its most plastic states. And if you change the brain at that point, there may be a better capacity for the brain to reorganize.
Okay. All right. If you're interested, you can go back and watch the whole video. But you can see that she's still functionable after the surgery, right? So it's not like one half the brain controls everything. Yeah.
But this is also like, we don't know because probably there's not enough cases. This was only able to happen because they did this at a young age, like how the lady said that the brain's like more plastic, and that the left side developed properties that the right side did because she was at a young age. She got it at 3.
Yep.
If the same procedure happened at someone that was like our age maybe, or maybe like 30, yeah, our age, it wouldn't have the same, the person wouldn't be as capable, right? Maybe?
Yes, you're right, but that doesn't go against the topic here. We're saying that the differences should not be exaggerated, right? Are you saying that this case is like
special? Like, yeah, that's like, I understand.
It is a special case, but it also serves as a support saying that the hemispheres, the differences between them can overlap.
Like, never mind. We'll talk about it later.
Okay. All right.
Cut a little strong.
All right. I saw a hand over here. Right. All right. So what we found is that both hemispheres activate on most tasks that we do, and this person is the person with the split brain. Did you guys read about this in the textbook? You did? Okay. All right, so I won't show you the whole video because it's quite long. If you're interested how it works, not just on text, you can go back and watch this video. It's pretty interesting.
7 years ago.
So there are some research methods in neuroscience that we use. First, we have lesion studies. Those are damage or abnormal change in the tissue of the brain. So in animals, we can use experiments. So kind of take out part of the brain and see how that affects animals. But in humans, we use case studies. And there are several famous people, Vince Gage, HM, SM, and embedded link for all of them here. If you're interested, you can go to those links and take a look at them. All right, PET, that's a way for us to measure brain activity. PET is also called, the full name is positron emission tomography. Pretty much you need to drink some kind of radiative thing, and then it tracks your blood and then kind of maps your brain activity. fMRI, that's the functional magnetic resonance imaging. So that's looking at oxygen, the blood flow in your brain. So let's say when we try to stimulate you with certain stimulation and we want to see which part of the brain has more blood, that's fMRI. And lastly, we have EEG. Oh, so for these two, they're kind of invasive. if you don't have to do it, we don't recommend you to do it. EEG is less invasive to the human body. This is tracking the electromagnetic in your brain. All right. Those are the results. Well, you don't need to memorize what they are or remember how they work. Just know the basic, how we measure brain activity. So here is the website that Marcus mentioned last time. Is you are taking the mouse to a lab and look at how drugs affect them. I'll show you very quickly what it looks like. It's pretty interesting, and I think it has alcohol. It kind of answers Ethan's questions from last class. Alright, so we have different types of mouse here. Ecstasy, marijuana, heroin, amphetamine. So you can just take them to the chair.
Dopamine transporters are responsible.
Okay, so if you're interested, go to this website and play with it. It's very interesting, in my opinion. All right, any questions before we end the chapter 4? Yes?
Is there a difference between an MRI and fMRI?
Yes. fMRI, I think it's functional, so it's more tracking the activity in real time. MRI is more static, like it doesn't track the activity. Right? All right. Chapter 5, we have a couple minutes, so think about what it means to be conscious, and think about why do animals have consciousness. So Tara Schabel, she suffered extensive brain damage when she collapsed after respiratory and cardiac arrest. So she was diagnosed with persistent vegetative state. So after 15 years, her husband wanted to take her off life support. And there was a long court battle between her husband and her parents about whether Terry was conscious or not. I'm going to show you a short clip.
Terry, open your eyes up. Open your eyes. Terry, open your eyes. There you go, good. Good. Good job. Good job, young lady. Good job. There you go.
She don't like that, does she?
Okay, so do you think that Terry was conscious? Guess not. If you think that Terry was not conscious. Okay. What about you don't know? Okay, cool. So most people think that Terry was conscious. I tend to believe that she was conscious too, but at the end, her husband won, so her feeding tube was removed. She pretty much starved to death at the end. It's really sad. But that's it. Sad topic to end the class. But think about this, consciousness. It's a very interesting topic to think about. I wish we had more time to discuss this, but yeah. Have a good weekend. And remember, we don't have in-person class on Monday.